Hey everyone, this is Justin from Who Is Like You Ministries, and welcome back to another video. Now this video I thought I would give you guys an explanation and sort of describe something that a lot of Christians and Westerners and other people haven't heard of before that lies within Judaism. It's called the Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer HaTov, the evil and good inclinations. I'm going to talk about the Yetzer Hara and HaTov in strictly Jewish views. All of the scholarship that I use in this video and the stuff that I've learned myself all comes from Jewish rabbis, Jewish books, the Talmud, straight from the Old Testament itself. So everything here will be from the Jewish viewpoint. There is a desire out there inside of all of us, a desire that urges us to do good things or urges us to do bad things. This desire was created at the very beginning by God when He made everything. All throughout Jewish history, we see writings of what is known as the Yetzer HaTov and the Yetzer Hara, the good and evil urges or inclinations. The word Yetzer is translated many ways, from urge to inclination, intention, imagination, and impulse, depending on what Bible translation is used. However, all the translations are speaking about the same thing. The Yetzer Hara is that aspect of human nature found in us all that, when uncontrolled, leads us to sin. The rabbis also have taught that every person is endowed with a Yetzer HaTov and a Yetzer Hara, loosely translated as an instinctive inclination to do good and an inclination to do evil. The creative tension between these two forces prods us forward in life. These are major features in a rabbinic psychology and anthropology. According to Bereshit Rabbah 9:7, Rav Nachman, the son of Shmuel, said, "Behold, it was very good." This refers to the good inclination, and "Behold, it was very good." This refers to the evil inclination. But is the evil inclination very good? How so? Were it not for the evil inclination, a person would not build, would not marry, would not have children, and would not engage in business. And so Shlomo said in Kohelet 4:4, all work comes from man's jealousy for his neighbor. Every human being has two inclinations or instincts, one pulling upwards, the other downwards. These are the good inclination, Yetzer HaTov, and the evil inclination, Yetzer Hara. Although it is called the evil inclination because it leads to wrongdoing, it really denotes more the propensity towards evil rather than something evil itself. The Jewish sages give a name to this negative impulse. They call it the Yetzer Hara, the inclination to evil. We are born with free will and can choose to do good or bad. But whenever we try to do something that stretches us in the direction of good, we need to expect to encounter this inner resistance arising from the shadows. We have an inner inclination to elevate and purify ourselves. That's the Yetzer HaTov, the impulse to do good, and what stands in our way is the built-in adversary, the Yetzer Hara. According to Rab Arira, a Jewish Amora sage, the tempter, the evil inclination, is called by 7 different names. The Holy One, blessed be He, calls him simply evil. As it is said in Genesis 8:21, the inclination of man's heart is evil. Moses calls him the uncircumcised, for so he says in Deuteronomy 10:16, ye shall circumcise your foreskin, or lot, of your heart. David calls him unclean, for he prays in Psalm 51:12, create in me a clean heart, whence it appears that there is an unclean one. Solomon calls him enemy, for he says in Proverbs 25:21 and 22, if thine enemy be hungry, give him bread, religious nourishment, to eat, and if he be thirsty, give him water, spiritual refreshment, to drink. You can also compare this to Isaiah 55:1 and 2. Isaiah calls him a stumbling block, for he cries in Isaiah 57:14, Remove the stumbling block out of the way of my people. Ezekiel calls him stone, for he says in Ezekiel 36:26, I will remove the heart of stone out of your flesh and will give you a heart of flesh. Joel calls him lurker, for he says in Joel 2:20, I will remove far off from you the Zephoni, which in the Haggadah is taken as a symbolical name of the tempter who lies hidden, Zaphun, in the heart of man. The good and evil inclinations are also mentioned in detail throughout the Talmud and the Hebrew Bible. The rabbis see the Yetzer Hara as not necessarily evil, but needed to live a full human life. The Yetzer Hara is not intrinsically evil, rather it is raw, untamed energy that manifests itself in the form of drives, especially sexual. Rabbi Samuel bar Nachman, a Roman-era commentator in the 3rd and 4th centuries, writes, were it not for the Yetzer Hara, a man would not build a house, take a wife, beget children, or engage in commerce. The origins of the inclination can be traced back to the Hebrew Bible. The first time that a Yetzer is mentioned is in the Hebrew Scriptures in Genesis 6:5. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continuously. The second time a Yetzer is mentioned is in Genesis 8:21. And when the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground because of man, for the intention of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I ever strike down every living creature as I have done. It is no surprise that the first 2 times the evil inclination is mentioned is during the portion of the Tanakh that speaks of the flood, a period where the evil urges of man were far greater than the good urges. Even earlier in the Bible, the good and evil inclinations make themselves known, although not mentioned by name, in the Garden of Eden. The good inclination was Adam and Eve's drive to follow and be obedient to God, while the evil inclination was their curiosity and their rebellion. Although the serpent did tempt them in Genesis 3, one could argue that their Yetzer Hara is what caused them to disobey a direct command from God. Rabbi Eliyahu Dessler, like many other rabbis, claimed that the reason for the emergence of the inclinations is free will. The first time that an inclination is mentioned in the Mishnah, which is a collection of teachings compiled around 200 CE, is in Berachot, chapter 9, verse 5. Berachot is the first book in the Mishnah, and it reads, a man is obligated to recite a blessing over evil, just as he recites a blessing over good. As it is said, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Deuteronomy 6:5. With all your heart, this means with both of your inclinations, with the good inclination and with the evil inclination. The good and evil inclinations are first mentioned in the Talmud in Berachot 60b-3. In a prayer or blessing recited during a daily routine. May the good inclination have dominion, and may the evil inclination not have dominion over me. Save me from an evil mishap and evil disease. Perhaps the highest amount of written appearances of the Yetzer HaTov and Yetzer Hara appear in the Talmud. This, however, does not indicate that the Yetzer HaTov and Hara are a more recent invention by later rabbis. It is mentioned many times throughout the Tanakh. The Midrash, a compilation of writings seeking to answer religious questions, compiled from 200 CE to 1000 CE, and its first mention of an inclination is in Bereshit Rabbah 9:7. The first appearance of a Yetzer in the Halakha, Jewish law, is in Mishnah Torah, Repentance 5:1. Behold, this species, man, stands alone in the world, and there is no other kind like him, as regards this subject of being able, of his own accord, by his reason and thought, to know the good and the evil, and to do whatever his inclination dictates him, with none to stay his hand from either doing good or evil. And, being that he is so, lest he put forth his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. The Yetzer HaTov and Yetzer Hara make many other appearances in places like Bava Metzia 59b-14, which reads, It was taught in Baresa. Rabbi Eliezer the Great says, "For what reason does the Torah warn in 36 places, and some say in 46 places, about a convert? Because his inclination is bad." The rabbis expound on Exodus 15:26 by writing, "And he said, if you pay heed to the voice of the Lord your God, taking upon yourselves to perform the mitzvot, and you do what is just in his eyes, performing them, and you give ear to his mitzvot, being attentive to their details, and you keep all of his statutes, decrees having no ostensible reason, and therefore vulnerable to attack by the evil inclinations." Berachot 61a:3 says, Rav Nachman bar Rav Chisda interpreted homiletically, "What is the meaning of that which is written? Then the Lord God formed Vayitzer, man, Genesis 2:7, with a double yod. This double yod alludes to the fact that the Holy One, blessed be he, created two inclinations, one a good inclination and one an evil inclination." Berachot 61a:27 reads, Rav said, "The evil inclination is like a fly, and it sits between the two entrances of the heart, and it is stated, dead flies make the ointment of the perfumer fetid and putrid." Ecclesiastes 10:1. And Shmuel said, "The evil inclination is like a type of wheat, as it is stated, transgression, chatat, crouches at the door." Genesis 4:7. Chatat is interpreted homiletically as related to chita, wheat. The Yetzer Hara is often said to be the cause of the Lashon Hara and Ayin Hara, the evil tongue and evil eye. Lashon Hara refers to true statements that harm, embarrass, cause financial damage to, or lower the status of a person being discussed. Rabbi Israel Stein defines Lashon Hara as mean-spirited truth. The evil tongue is any time that someone says something to or about someone else with the intent to hurt someone. This could be intentional or unintentional, although the argument could be made that it is intentional subconsciously. There are two instances, according to Rabbi Joseph Telushkin, in the written Torah, where Lashon Hara is mentioned and punished. First, in Genesis 37, Joseph brings a bad report, i.e. tattling, about his brothers. He is then punished by his brothers by being sold into slavery. The second instance is in Numbers 12, where Miriam and Aaron become jealous of Moses and speak ill of him. God in turn causes Miriam to break out with leprosy. Both instances show that the Lashon Hara will be punished in most circumstances. Sotah 42a reads that the regular speaking of Lashon Hara makes a person unworthy of reward in the afterlife. Ayin Hara, the evil eye, appears in early Jewish literature. It was a widespread belief that some people could cause evil for others just by looking at them. According to this same tradition, one can either prevent or counteract the evil eye by the avoidance of any expression of praise or by qualifying any praise with an expression like the Yiddish Kain Ayin Hore, may there be no evil eye. Numerous times, the Yetzer Hara is described as an almost living entity and is personified to the point where it starts to sound very similar to the Christian demon. Alan Morinis writes, however the Yetzer Hara, is approached, the task of taming the adversary is not to be underestimated. Be forewarned that this foe is wily, unruly, deceptive. It doesn't play by our rules, and the better we get at dealing with it, the more subtle does it render its resistance. It is the proverbial trickster. Rabbi Elijah of Vilna, known as the Vilna Gaon, writes that the Yetzer Hara does not try to seduce you to do something that is outright sinful, because in that case you'd never take the bait. Rather, the Yetzer Hara tries to get you to take only one small step down a wrong road, which it can do by convincing you that this first step is actually a good and righteous thing. Christians view demons as fallen angels whose goal is to tempt people into sin, just like the Yetzer Hara. As quoted above, Whenever we try to do something that stretches us in the direction of good, we need to expect to encounter this inner resistance arising from the shadows. Yoma 69b9 states, in response to the indication of divine acceptance, they observed a fast for 3 days and 3 nights, and he delivered the evil inclination to them. A form of a fiery lion cub came forth from the chamber of the Holy of Holies. Zechariah the prophet said to the Jewish people, "This is the evil inclination for idol worship, as it is stated in the verse that refers to this event." And he said, "This is the evil one." Zechariah 5:8. The use of the word "this" indicates that the evil inclination was perceived in a physical form. The fact that the evil inclination can appear in a physical form shows that this is more than just something inside of people. According to the rabbis, all sin is caused by the Yetzer Hara, one's inclination to do evil. There is a common consensus among the rabbis as to how to resist the urges of the Yetzer Hara. Kiddushin 30b says, a sage from the school of Rabbi Yishmael taught, "My son, if this wretched one, the evil inclination, encounters you, pull it into the study hall, i.e., go and study the Torah. If it is a stone, it will melt, and if it is iron, it will break. As it is stated with regard to the Torah, is not my word like fire, says the Lord, and like a hammer that breaks the rock in pieces?" Jeremiah 23:29. Just as a stone shatters a hammer, so too one can overcome his evil inclination, which is as strong as iron, through Torah study. Pirke Avot 6:2 states, "For only the individual who is engaged in the study of Torah is truly free. That person who is engaged in the regular study of Torah is exalted." Rabbi Joseph Telushkin writes, "A person who works on his character is better able to resist his evil inclination, just as someone who gives up time and personal freedom to practice the piano has the annual dexterity to play well." Torah study and Jewish laws are Judaism's system for achieving goodness. The Yetzer Hara entices the individual to sin, but one must rise above sin through the study of Torah and the observance of its precepts. In Rabbi Telushkin's book, A Code of Jewish Ethics, Volume 1, he writes of a story of Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik and his incident with Rabbi Norman Lamb, a new student in the class. Rabbi Soloveitchik asked Rabbi Lamb one class to summarize Tosafot's, a medieval commentary, approach to the passage they had been studying. Rabbi Lamb repeated exactly what Rabbi Soloveitchik had taught the previous class. Rabbi Soloveitchik became very angry and said, "I know what I'm saying. I do not need you to tell me. What do you think?" And then he added, "The problem is that you check your evil inclination outside the classroom door and come in with your good inclination. Next time, bring your evil inclination with you and leave your good inclination outside." Rabbi Soloveitchik wanted Rabbi Lamb to argue with him and raise a discussion using his Yetzer Hara, but instead, being a respectful student, used his Yetzer HaTov and repeated what Rabbi Soloveitchik had taught. Eliezer of Zikov speaks of a story when he was younger where the Yetzer Hara can be used for good. He was scolded by his father for some misdeed. He said, "But what can I do if my Yetzer Hara tempts me?" "Learn from your Yetzer Hara," his father said. "Look how diligent he is." This story shows us to be as hardworking and meticulous in our lives as the Yetzer Hara is when it is trying to lead us down its path. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter writes, "Now, the Rambam writes that a person must conduct himself according to the middle path. Yet is there anyone who can fathom this? And is there a seer who can declare, here is the midpoint? This matter cannot be proven by syllogism, nor even by deductive reasoning. Rather, it can only be determined by a wise man using his faculty of common sense, each according to his place and time." The Athenian sages asked, "Where is the center of the world?" meaning, what is the way to determine the middle path? Rebbe Yehoshua replied, "Here," meaning according to the judgment of your intellect. It is clear that the evil inclination is far more dominant for most people than the good inclination. Each time something positive is done or said, there is an inclination to do something bad. Rabbi Dessler writes, "With each good choice successfully carried out, the person rises higher in spiritual level. That is, things that were previously in the line of battle are now in the area controlled by the Yetzer HaTov, and actions done in that area can be undertaken without struggle and without bechira, choice. And so in the other direction, giving in to the Yetzer Hara pushes back the frontier of the good, and an act which previously cost one a struggle with one's conscience will now be done without bechira at all. It is important to find a middle ground where one can live with both the evil and good inclinations. The Yetzer Hara will do everything in its power to subvert your higher self and to influence you to indulge your desires. Hence, the goal is not to try to destroy the Yetzer Hara, but to control it and apply it for good. Ben Zoma asked, "Who is strong?" His answer is, whoever controls their evil inclination. The Yetzer Hara is central to the Jewish thought, even more than the Yetzer HaTov. It is mentioned much more frequently than its counterpart in the written Torah and in the oral Torah. Through the knowledge of the evil inclination and the good inclination, one can know exactly how to live a righteous life, when to resist the evil urge, when to use the evil urge. The good inclination never changes. It is always good and is always strived for. It is the highest level of existence. By knowing the limits of both, one can live a full and happy life. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's a foreign concept to most people, but it is very thoroughly Jewish, and I thought it was something cool to share with everybody, and I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like at the bottom, and I will see you in the next video.